Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are back with another brand new release, but this time we have our very first release from Showanna Studios. We have their Scotty the Tyrannosaurus Rex in 1/35th scale, and to say that I am excited for this release would be a massive understatement. I have been just anxiously awaiting this one to arrive for many months, and again, so happy that it's finally here, even though the Postal Service clearly wasn't very happy with it because they beat the packaging up a good bit. But you can see the box looks really good. Hopefully the figure has survived the trip, because again, that box is not in good shape. You can see the Showanna logo there on the side, some information up there on the top that I don't think we really need to go over, and then if we turn it around here to the back, pretty much again just some more information and stuff all over. Not a whole lot else past the shot there on the front. So let's pop this box open and check out our T-Rex. So included in the packaging, we've got some cards. First of all, you can see this really nice card, again showing off the Showanna logo up there, and you can also see it states number 764. So I can only assume it is a limited edition model. I don't know how many we have overall, but I have clearly number 764, and then we have some stuff here on the back, which the majority, unfortunately, I cannot read. And then we have another very cool card here, which you can see some more art here of our Scotty, and then as you move down, you've got some more information down here, and then a shot here again on the back of the logo. And you've also got yourself a base with the figure, and I personally definitely enjoy bases, so I'm very happy to see that this is included on the underside. Again, Tyrannosaurus Scotty 1/35th scale statue. Looks pretty darn cool. And then the actual star of the show, which is our Scotty the T-Rex right here. And I think it looks absolutely fantastic here at first glance. I know there were some posts that were made, I think, by Lana Time Shop, if I remember correctly, of people basically saying that they could get like refunds or something for the figure if they weren't happy with it. They could basically return it, but like, why would you want to? I don't know what the fuss was about, because I guess they mentioned the paint apps weren't what they were expecting, but like, seriously, I think the paint apps look really good on the figure, and maybe, not quite as high quality as you see on the prototype, but that's just how it works. Like, if you look at any Papo release from the beginning of Papo's production, and in fact with most companies, you're going to see a little difference from the prototype, because the prototype is always dressed up like major to look beyond incredible. And then again, when you get the actual factory figure that's painted, because like the prototype is usually painted by a paleo artist, the figure itself that you would receive is usually painted by a factory. And honestly, for a factory painted figure, I think this is beyond impressive. Like, super well done. This has absolutely got to be one of my favorite Tyrannosaur models that I've seen come out in quite some time. And what's even cooler is you can see that it stands very nicely with or without the base, so there are no balancing issues for the figure either, which again is definitely a plus, because some people don't necessarily enjoy bases. Some people love them like I do, so whether you like it with or without the base, you can go either way. But as far as looking at this one again with a closer look, we're going to readjust the camera and then begin here in the head sculpt. So taking a look at the head sculpt, actually I'm going to move the base here out of the way a little bit, but you can see starting here in the head sculpt that the T-Rex looks absolutely gorgeous when it comes to the fine detail. The skin texture is super well done. It's extremely vibrant and definitely pops on the sculpt, and you can see quite a bit of variation of color, some really nice dry brushing techniques that they've used here on the figure. Super smooth transitions. You've got quite a few different shades of color here, kind of like a dark gray it looks like, that they've used to dry brush some of the detail out. You have like a yellowish brown moving through a good bit of the face. You've also got a different shade of brown, a lighter brown, as you move up here into the top of the head. We can see the nostrils sculpted really nicely. Not only are they sculpted nicely, they also have a gloss coat in there, which is a massive plus for this figure, something that many companies don't do, but I really think that adds a nice dose of realism overall. We can see the eyes are painted with a yellow, given a black pupil. They are also nicely glossed, and we can also take note to a little bit of a darker tone of brown there around the eye. As you move down, you do have a few injuries here on the face of the Tyrannosaur, and what's really cool is not only do we have those injuries, they are painted out, and they are gloss coated, so they look wet, again, with a bloody look, which I think is fantastic. You can see another one here on the lower jaw. The skin texture, again, looking absolutely phenomenal as you move here through the lower jaw. Very nice dry brushing there, helping to bring all of the detail out there on the lower jaw. We also have an articulated jaw, but it actually goes pretty wide. Look at how wide open that mouth can go. And talk about an impressive visual right there of the T-Rex with its mouth wide open. It looks like we've got like a little extra something over there. I don't know what that is. Maybe some extra of the gloss coat or some glue. But again, it is a beautiful visual right there of the T-Rex with the mouth wide open. And that jaw is absolute perfection as far as the way it works. Like, you can see there are no issues at all. You can get that open to pretty much any and every length you could possibly ask for. When you head inside the mouth, you can see some nice variation of color to the inside of the mouth. Also a nice wet look in here as well, again giving it that saliva-like look. We see like purplish tones, even lighter tones as you move closer to the outer edge of that skin right there. If we come to the front, you can see the tongue in there again, not only sculpted really nicely, that also includes variation of color. We could see some more of the lighter tones down there on the inside of the mouth on the lower jaw. And as we move up here to the upper side of the inside of the mouth, again, man, the paintwork of this is fantastic inside the mouth. It is super realistic. They did such a good job on this. I also like the fact that the tongue is kind of sticking up just slightly there off of the lower jaw. We can also see the teeth are sculpted pretty nicely, painted very nice and precisely as well. I don't really see any sloppiness, again, for the teeth. Moving up here to the upper side, same deal. Again, the teeth look pretty darn nice overall, and again are painted with a mixture of like an off-white, I would say, or a yellowish tone, but then also maybe hit with like a brown wash, so that adds a little bit of a dirty look to it. That is really, really well done. That's super impressive. I also love the fact that as you move down here into the neck and throat, not only do we have a bit of like saggy hanging skin here, we have a nice reddish tone that shows up, which I often do with different dinosaur models when I paint them, and I think that just looks perfect for the T-Rex. It really is just like that perfect addition to the king of the dinosaurs that I really love. And as you move over here, we can get another look again at the reddish tones of the throat, as well as all of the impressive skin detail as you move through. Again, all sorts of creases and very impressive skin texture. As you move up here to the top of the head, you can see a darker brown very smoothly show up. We also have a lighter tone here moving over the eye area, which looks really good. And again, all of the same variation of color pretty much that we had seen on the first side. We can also see another injury right here. Again, some sort of a puncture wound that this Tyrannosaur has acquired at some point, also painted, also glossed again. As we move back down here into the lower part of the neck, you see more skin wrinkles and folds. We can see how the T-Rex is turning its head, not only turning its head away from us, but also kind of tilting the head a little bit, which I think is pretty cool. As you move down into the lower part of the neck into the upper part of the body, we can see the shoulder blade there starting to pick up. Again, some more nice dry brushing has been applied over that area. Also, we see some osteoderms and stuff as you lead down through the neck. But we also take note to the arms. The arms are kind of, held to the body, I would say, in a natural way, but also kind of extended out, so it sort of looks like it's currently being a little confrontational, in my opinion. I don't know exactly what it is angry at, but it looks as though it's about to try to take something down that might be a little bit bigger or just higher up somewhere compared to where the T-Rex currently is. As you move down into the arm, and my camera loses focus apparently, you can see again that the arm sculpt looks really good. We've got the finger sculpted nicely, the claws sculpted out and painted and glossed, again helping to make sure they cover every area as far as the realism of this figure goes. We can also take note to the elbow back there. As we lead back up into the stomach, we do pick up some really nice yellowish browns, really vibrant yellowish browns, honestly. The skin detail, again, is gorgeous. Look at all of the wrinkles and folds and cracks and crevices as you move along the stomach region here. We can also see how impressive the skin looks here, kind of leading off of the stomach, but it's not just like stretching off. Like, you can see so many tiny details in that area leading back that just, again, adds another level of realism to this Tyrannosaur. Moving up, you've got osteoderms and stuff popping up here and there. As we lead to the very top, we can see the spinal column there moving along the back of the dinosaur. Also a nice striping effect, really subtle striping, moving down along the back of the dinosaur. Leading here into the hip region, we can see a few osteoderms right there above the hip region that my camera doesn't want to focus on. There we go. A little bit more of that striping. As we lead down, you see again the really smooth transitions back to the yellowish browns on the back of the thigh, but we also see a slight, very, very subtle striping moving down through the thigh. There is also another injury right here, a big slice moving along that area of the thigh, again painted out, again gloss coated. As you lead down, you've got the big calf muscle, big and bulging. We can also see the knee, and then we lead into the foot sculpt. The foot sculpt looks very nice, very bird-like. It does darken to pretty much a black as you move down, or a very dark gray in the foot, but they've also dry brushed the detail out quite nicely, including the scoots moving over the toes. The claws have a nice genuine sharp look to them. They're also painted and gloss coated. And then we also have the dew claw, which is also painted and gloss coated, which is a huge plus. As so many companies tend to forget that area, again, when it comes to the yellowish brown, there's still that nice dry brushing moving along that area. And then we lead out into the tail, and you can see that beautiful striping. It is so subtle with the way it is added. And again, the different variations of browns, which look super nice on the figure. You've got the osteoderms moving out, really, really subtle, almost like orangish browns showing up there before again transitioning back to the yellowish browns. And we also have a very nice curve to the tail as you lead out, which you can see. Definitely love the overall curvatures that they've applied to the tail. And then as you move back up along the other side, we do have another injury right here on the T-Rex that, again, my camera didn't want to focus on briefly, but you can see that injury again, sculpted out nicely, painted. Same deal for up here on the back. Just some injuries here and there, and I would absolutely expect that to be the case, especially on a predator, but specifically a T-Rex. You're definitely going to expect it to encounter some things in its day and definitely be injured from time to time. I'm sure cuts and scrapes on something like this are just all in a day's work. And as you move up, again, you've got the hip bone. We can see all sorts of skin detail moving up and over the hip and over the thigh into the stomach right there. And again, look how muscular that leg is. It is extremely impressive when it comes to how muscular it looks. The paintwork looks really good here as well. Nice dry brushing. We've got the browns moving down along the front of the thigh with that light striping. We have another injury right here on the knee. Pretty big chunk. That one I just feel like would hurt horribly for the dinosaur. Always having to bend its knee right there where that injury is. That would just be horrible for this poor thing. But as you move down, you've got the calf muscle, and again, the foot sculpt's looking really good. The foot is planted on this side. It looks like this foot is picking up off of the ground as it takes a step. You could definitely see less of the stomach over here because, of course, this leg is stepping forward, kind of obscuring it. And then again, we move back up to the head sculpt of the dinosaur. Moving along the underside, again, the detail looks crisp, looks excellent the entire way through. And yes, we do even have a cloaca back here, like you would expect to see. So super, super impressive. By far one of the most impressive Tyrannosaur models I have ever seen. And then we also have a base here. The base is very nicely textured, kind of a nice rocky area that the Tyrannosaur is walking along, almost like a light tone here, almost giving it a little bit of a sandy look at the same time, but then extending out into a nice little rocky area, almost making it look like it's somewhere near a setting of water, like the ocean or something like that. Definitely gives me that sort of a feel. But again, the texturing on this looks fantastic. The paintwork is fantastic. Nice grayish tones, nice dry brushing with a tan that they've brought out all of the detail on it in a very nice realistic way. So we're going to go ahead and get our T-Rex here on the base. There is a peg hole on the underside of the foot that we're just going to slide onto the peg. Oh, wow, that goes on really easy. And then the T-Rex is standing there nice and proud, looking super impressive. As far as a size goes, this one might be a little tricky actually to measure because it is in an awkward spot where the head turns one way, the tail turns the other way. So I would say about 13 inches or around 33 centimeters in length, but of course that is not going to be a perfect measurement. And then for a height, about 6¼ inches or about 15½ centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon in the Collect Day human being next to our Showanna, Scotty the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and you can definitely see that this T-Rex is in a very similar size range to Mr. Papo T-Rex there, which, again, obviously, the Papo Rex is in a very different position, but being 1/35th scale, they should be and are very clearly roughly in the same size range. And then, of course, we want to see some different Tyrannosaur comparisons with Scotty, so you can, first of all, see the recurve version of the T-Rex is very similar in size, a little lower because it doesn't have that very cool base to it, but pretty similar in size overall. We've also got the Rebor Tyrannosaurus, which to be expected is a little bit larger. That's not a surprise because that is a really big T-Rex from Rebor. But you can see again that these two do look pretty cool next to each other. We've also got the fan favorite How Long Good version of the T-Rex, which is a little bit smaller than Scotty, but not by a whole lot. Then we've got PNSO's Wilson, which we can see is roughly in a similar size range, but again, just like a lot of these Tyrannosaurs, they are slightly smaller. So far, the only one that I would say is bigger would be Rebor, but none are perfectly in the same size range as Scotty is, a pretty big T-Rex. And then we've also got Cameron from PNSO, which this one looks to pretty much be the same size as Scotty, so that definitely gives you a pretty good idea as far as how large the Showanna's Scotty is. And then one final comparison, as we have Eofaunus Tyrannosaurus here next to Showanna's as well, which you can very clearly see they are again in a very similar size range. So Showanna absolutely not only knocked this one out of the park, but I would say they knocked this one into outer space. This thing is fantastic. From head to tail, it is by far one of my favorite Tyrannosaurus models that I now have in my collection. And I think one of the things I most love about this are the tiny bits of realism that Showanna has added to it that many other companies neglect, like the injuries throughout the course of the body. That is such a nice touch, and not only the fact that the injuries are there, but the fact that they actually took the time and effort to paint them really shows you that Showanna cares about their final product and definitely wants to give you, again, the best possible product. And I'm so excited to see what else they release moving into the future. Now, finally having one of their models in hand, it just has me so excited for what they can do moving forward. Sculpt-wise, again, it is easily one of the most impressive Tyrannosaurus models that I have ever seen. There is so much fine detail on this. Like, there's not a single place that you can look at on this and say, well, they missed a little bit of skin texture there or a skin wrinkle or fold there that they should have applied. Like, it is super, super impressive when it comes to the amount of detail that has been included. The paintwork is also really well done. It's very natural, and it's one of the very few times that a company paints a model out and doesn't really apply any form of like a wash, and I can say it still looks super lifelike. Like, a lot of the time I love when companies apply washes, but Showanna has done such a great job with the different variations of dry brushing that they've done on this that it really brings the dinosaur to life very realistically. They've also added in gloss coats, of course, in the nostrils, the eyes, the mouth, the nails, everything that should have a little bit of a wet look definitely does, which I also love. And again, the transitions and the amount of different variation of color that they've used on this is equally as impressive as everything else, especially when you look inside the mouth. And you also get a base on top of everything. The base is really well done and definitely helps when it comes to the stability of the figure, even though it can stand without the base just fine. So without a doubt, this is a very high recommendation from me. If you are a Tyrannosaur fan, you absolutely need this in your collection. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this on Lana Time Shop right now. So check that link, absolutely pick this up, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.